Well, good evening. Well, good evening, good evening, good evening. I want to thank you so much for joining me this evening, this 16th of the 1st, 2025, another Thursday to look at some of the top news around the world. And I just want to invite you, my fellow guest, fellow host, co-host, who are joining me, those on TikTok, those on Instagram, those on Facebook, and those on YouTube. Welcome, welcome, welcome. And thank you for joining me on In Review, What is Your News? But first of all, let me ask you if you can put in the comment section, what is your news? What is the news that you have? What is it, the news that you felt was far-reaching and very important to you this week so far? Because every day there's something new. Right, every day we've got different breaking news which are happening in the world. For this week so far, we are seeing the advent of Trump, which is going to be coming in power on the 20th. We believe that TikTok is going to be null and void in the States on the 19th. We talk about Elianne Andem, the young lady who was killed in Croydon, unalive. That's a word what they say. Justice for her because the murderer was found guilty. Talking about Kemi Badenoch at the dispatch box, the leader of the Conservative Party. She's having a field day. I believe one of the things they say is after 21 days, after doing something, it becomes a habit. It becomes a second. Try it. Try doing something in 21 days. Try focus on something in 21 days. For myself, I did my walking in 21 days. And as a result of that, it became a habit of me going out in the park and walking every day. Try something in 21 days and it becomes a habit. If you take off the H, it's a bit. If you take off the A, you get a bit. If you take off the B, you get it. And if you get off the I, you get T, if you know what I'm trying to say. And therefore, and also we're going to talk about Jamaica, whereby you have the Minister of Justice, Mr. Delroy Chuck, and what he's saying is that he's advising members of Parliament, do not cooperate with the Integrity Commission and seeking limits on the Integrity Commission. Mark you, the Integrity Commission was there and was set up there to deal with and to regulate corruption, to regulate unaccountability, to regulate and to have transparency. And he wants to push against it. Ladies and gentlemen, what can I say? Well, without further ado, let me start the show. Well, thank you for coming on tonight. And I'm hoping to get Mr. Guy Graham or someone to join me. Anyone else want to join me? Feel free to join today. Uh, it has been a very challenging week, I must say. Every week is challenging. Every week there's new developments. Every day there's new things which are happening. I keep always saying that even if I invite someone to come on the show, give them week notice, days notice, but things changes overhand. Things changes overnight, and that is what is happening with the world today. Every day there's something. If you look at it, last week we were talking about the fire in California, Los Angeles. The fire, I believe, still exists to a certain extent, but it has been pushed off the radar. Yes, it has been pushed off the radar. Yes, and of course you have persons talking about it. They talk about corruption. They talk about conspiracy and everything, but it is somewhat being pushed off the radar. What is now being placed on the radar is the whole issue in regards to the Middle East, right? In regards to the Middle East. I think the first time I heard about it was that Trump, the president-elect Trump, who used to be president second time around on the 20th when he have his inauguration, uh, he tweeted to say that we have now got a peace deal. I know Trump likes to maybe try to grab the highlight. And one of the first thing that came back is Israel is saying we have not approved any deal. And at the same time, what you're having, you're having still some sort of killings going on in the Middle East. So the question is, will Hamas Israel ceasefire lead to peace in Middle East if it goes through? Will the Israel Hamas ceasefire lead to peace in the Middle East if it goes through? The long-awaited ceasefire to bring a temporary reprieve in war that has destroyed Gaza appears to be on hold after a last-minute crisis has disrupted the Israeli approval process to secure the release of remaining hostages and claiming the conflict. They're saying they're hopefully for 33 prisoners to be released, not prisoners, yeah, of the hostages, and also some of the hostages or some of the prisoners in Israel to be released. Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu announced there were problems with the deal Thursday morning when his cabinet, which today was expected to meet to give its formal approval, and said Hamas was trying to add last minute conditions that were not acceptable. You got different hardliners in this whole process. US officials have said that they are confident the hiccups could be overcome and that the ceasefire will still go into effect. Biden would like it on his crypt list or so to say that it was during his tenure that happened. Trump won't have it on his crypt list to say that it is what he said during his uh, campaign that on the first day there will be peace. Now, maybe he will achieve that to say that there will be peace in the Middle East. And then who knows, by the end of this week, we could see something whereby there is peace in Ukraine and Russia. The Prime Minister of the UK went over there to Ukraine recently and laying out some flowers. The Anthony Blinken said that he's very confident and he fully expects implementation to begin, as was said on Sunday. It is not exactly surprising, he said, that in a process and a negotiation that has been this challenge in this fraught, you might get a loose end, which you are trying up that loose end as we speak. I believe there was some heckling at the same time for Anthony Blinken. And the last minute deal delay highlights the fragility of any hostage release and peace agreement will be after 15 minutes of war started by Hamas, October the 7th. I'm going to bring in Mr. Garry Graham, who knows all about this, and he's the expert, and I let me ask him a question if the Lord has said to him anything. Garry Graham, how are you?
Sir Sydial, it's great to connect with you again. Another
Yes,
week
sir.
of the week.
Yes, fantastic. It's another week, another exciting time, and I say exciting time because each week conjures up new things. Um, you see, I believe that each day gives hope. And I think there's a scripture in the Bible that says, "Who against hope believe." Am I right there? Am I right?
But whatever you say, Sil.
Is it? Is it? I got my references, Even I got two. Is it two of my small Bibles,
Okay.
if one is not if one is not really right, I can go to the second one, and 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 then I can go to the big one.
Go to the big one. All right. Okay. Okay.
you know. Yeah. How are you, anyhow, Gary?
Yeah, I'm okay. Just a little busy, but I'm okay. I'm okay.
Yes. Well. One of the first thing is things have been hit off the radar. Last week we were talking about the fires in California, Los Angeles, and somehow if you look, you notice you're not hearing that much about it, even though they're talking about the process of maybe understanding what happened, to inquire as to the water issue there, and lots of people realizing that the Mel Gibson and different persons, their house has been burnt down, and different persons have been donating stuff there. Beyonce have been donating different things there as well. The the um the Prince Harry and his wife also been visiting there as well, trying to see how they can make amends and see how they can help. But this week, what we are seeing is that the Middle East, there's a ceasefire, Gar. Um, Alleged ceasefire. I don't actually say alleged ceasefire in the Middle East, which Trump
Well,
announced. Mm,
well, I think starting where you started with the fires, even though the rhetoric or the reporting of it has died down, but the fires are still raging. I mean, it's
yes,
not that the fires have been put out; they're still going. You know,
yes,
um, that that is of concern. Number one,
mm,
and the ceasefire in Gaza. There again, it's all to me. It's all due to one individual. He said, "Make sure you have peace before I get into the office." You see,
yes.
if it was, if Biden, if there was no, what do you call it now? If there was no
Are
election,
there? Yes. Mm,
if there's no election, would would there be peace? Would there be peace? And I don't think so, because the driving force behind negotiating and getting this peace deal done is Trump. And even though Biden has taken credit for it, to say, because he has taken credit,
seeking to take credit, I must say. Yes.
yes, and I don't think really. It's sad, but I don't know if Biden can really take credit for peace to have come so quickly. You know, but
Well,
I
well,
don't
well,
know.
Yeah, well, I posted on my thing earlier today, whereby Biden was making a speech to say that he's very concerned about certain lots of rich persons dealing with or getting in the house, and he's also talking about that social media is giving up on fact checking.
Who's
And
this?
Biden is saying that in a sort of White House press conference today. But I just said, well, I'm glad the world is giving up on Biden. you know, I'm glad the world has given up on Biden is out of the picture, because as far as I'm concerned, he has been a lame duck. And lots of people are now asking questions. I believe lots of persons are saying, who has been running America all this time? Because it is very clear and evident that Biden faculty, cognitive ability is not there. Who has been running America? That is what some people are asking. And they say there need to be some inquiry in regards to that when the new administration comes in.
Did you just say? Did you just say that Biden is concerned that a lot of rich people is getting into government?
Yes, yes. He's saying like there's an oligarch, I think he's talking about the
Yeah, but
Musk and all this. Mm.
how can he say that when the senators, most of the senators that's there are rich anyway? I
Yes.
mean, it has even been said that
Mm.
the quickest way to get rich in America, let's say one of the quickest ways to get rich in America is to become a congressman and then senator, because that's when the money comes in.
But where does the
That's
money
when,
come from?
well, obviously you get paid, and then you're then lobbied, aren't you? You're sought for. Companies would seek you and seek for you and such. So people get rich that way. People get wealthy. People become powerful once they become
So
a
you're talking.
Congress.
So you're talking about the kickback effect.
Well, yeah, I mean, it happens. It happens in America. I mean,
Is that? Yeah.
even though we say that we don't like it, but it happens.
Mm,
You know,
yeah. But if we revert back to the Gaza peace deal there, as I said, U.S. officials saying that they're confident a Gaza ceasefire will go ahead on Sunday after Israel accused Hamas of backtracking on a deal. Do
I
you
don't
think
know
this?
if that piece. I
Mm,
don't think it's going to hold. I don't think it's going to hold. I mean, it's either Hamas is going to make a mistake or Israel is going to make a mistake. Israel claimed from the very beginning, and it has already been said. I believe I was listening to something on BBC Two last night, BBC Two television, but one of the
mm,
commentators there was saying that Israel proclaimed at the beginning of the war that they're going to wipe out Hamas, and they
yes.
haven't done that. I mean, they have. What Israel can claim is that they have completely, if I can use the term, decapitated the head of Hamas, because the
Yes.
leadership of Hamas has been removed. However, you've still got the lieutenants and the lieutenants and whatever tenants you have down there that is still able to fire the rockets and whatever from across the borders.
And
But
persons who are very adamant in seeking revenge as well.
exactly, exactly,
Mm.
exactly. So
Some mm,
so Israel. I mean, there is something. I think we have to understand, Sil, and we've got to point out here that Israel is a people, is a nation. Now, when they say they're going to do something, they do it.
mm,
And whether they make peace or not, whether they say they're on a peace deal or not, they're going to go after Hamas, and they're going to me, they're going, they are going to destroy. They want to destroy Hamas. They know that if they don't do what they need to do in the next year or two, it could be the next 3 years, Hamas is going to come back, because because Hamas, Hezbollah, and is it the HTS, which is
yeah.
the government that took over in Syria? They're vowed that they're heading towards Jerusalem. So even though they they are giving overtures of peace, and they're not heading towards Israel at the moment,
Mm,
but their heart's desire is to decapitate
yeah.
the Israeli government.
What they've been saying is that the health ministry in Gaza also said that dozens of Palestinians have been killed by Israeli strikes since the ceasefire announcement. But I find that the ceasefire announcement is just saying that there's a ceasefire announcement pending to be sealed by cabinet, because they said the planned Israeli cabinet vote on the agreement has been pushed back. So therefore, there's no actual ceasefire deal then. But dozens of Palestinians have been killed by Israeli strikes. You wonder what's the purpose of that? You know. Someone said, "My brother displaced and living in a torn and weathered tent in Gaza dreams of returning home," writes a correspondent. Hamas attacked southern Israel on 7th of October 23, killing about 1,200 people and taking 251 back to Gaza as hostage. 251. I wonder how many have been released back. But they said there's 33 that they plan to release, and then they're going to be exchanging for lots of prisoners who are held in Hamas and Palestinian prisoners who are held in Israel. So the ceasefire would allow 600 trucks a day into Gaza, World Food Program. Israeli opposition pledged support to Netanyahu over deal. Yeah. So in a way, it's all up in the air in regards to this particular deal. But I believe the most important thing is that there's talk about a deal when there wasn't talk about a deal before. And rightly, as you say, Trump has come in and maybe pushed the dial and just say, what Trump said, hell is gonna break loose if the prisoners or the hostages are not returned to Israel. I wouldn't be surprised in the next few days if something comes up about Ukraine and Russia as well. I wouldn't be surprised days
Yeah,
before the inauguration.
yeah, it's we're we're really living in unprecedented times. I think anything could happen. Anything at this moment could happen. The Bible does talk about, peace and safety, then sudden destruction. So even though we saw on the television, I saw on the television last night, at least 24 hours ago, where Gazans and the Palestinians in certain areas were celebrating that peace was going to happen.
Yes.
But I don't think there's going to be anything called peace. How can there be peace when the Palestinians and the Arabs and Muslims or Islamists or whatever is vowing to destroy Israel? How can there be peace?
Yes.
It that won't happen. I'm sorry from this if I am
sounding pessimistic is what you're saying.
But I think we've got to look at the facts. The facts is that Iran wants Israel removed. The HTS, before on their way to Syria, on their way to Damascus, they expressed that they are on a journey to Jerusalem.
Yeah.
Hezbollah has expressed that they're on their way to Jerusalem. Hamas has expressed that they're on their way to Jerusalem. The whole Arab world has expressed every so often that they want Israel destroyed. So how can then people rejoice over a peace deal
which holds no water, which is not very, what you say, substantive, has no substance?
It's not. There's no Israeli that can properly, at this moment in time, go to bed and sleep safely. There's none. It's not going to happen, Sil.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen. Believe me, it's not going to happen.
So what you're saying is that this peace deal, well, you said they'll be talking about everything looking nice and hunky-dory and then sudden destruction. That's what you're saying, according to scriptures.
Yeah.
Well, there's still a bit where they say you pray for the leaders that there can be peace, that people can live in peace or something of that nature at the same time, isn't it? Pray for the leaders. Pray that they will have wisdom.
All of that is there. You're correct. The Bible the book that I believe in, that we believe in, and that every Christian holds in their hand, speaks that we pray for the peace of Jerusalem, that we
Yes.
pray for those in authority. Paul the apostle speaks very clearly about praying for those in authority. And yes, we should. Yes, we
Yes.
must. But but let me do things in two parts here. Number one, Paul also speaks that we must pray that the word of God has free course. That is what we must pray for.
Free
Pray,
course.
yes, pray that there is peace, that the word of God be declared. I think we've got to understand that. But on the other side of the coin, we must be aware that the Bible must be fulfilled. The
Yes.
Bible is going to be fulfilled. And within the pages of scripture, it speaks about Israel. It speaks about Jacob's trouble. It
Mm.
speaks about wars and rumors of wars, famines, pestilence, earthquakes in diverse places. It speaks about the coming day of the Lord. So
Mm.
whether we are alive and we see it or not, these things are going to come to pass.
Mm.
But we must pray. And I believe that in as much as, yes, the whole world wants peace. And I believe every individual, including you and myself, we want
Yes.
peace. We want our children and our grandchildren to live in a peaceful world.
And to
But we
enjoy
have
peace.
to but we
Mm.
have to also um accept that the reality of scripture and the reality in which we are going to be, that we are living in, if the Lord tarries and we're alive, is that there is going to
Mm.
be trouble. There is going to be trouble. Whether we are alive or not, we have to prepare everyone to say there will never really be any peace. There'll be no
Yes.
peace. Now, again, I might be I'm going to sound very pessimistic,
Mm.
you know, and I know that there are individuals out there that that might totally, if is the term castigate me, or may totally be against me in
Mm.
thinking of this and in saying that. But that's
Yeah.
the reality.
What do people say about what Gary just said a while ago? Those on Instagram, Charles Sinclair, Della the Prayer Warrior. What do you say about that? Those on Instagram. What do you say about that? But if we move on, if people can respond to that. If we move on, Gary, you remember that young lady who was killed in Croydon? Yeah. I use the word kill, but on TikTok they use the word unalive. I don't know why they say these things. You know what I mean? Unalive. It
Unalive.
just says it's unalive. Yes. Elianne Andem. The guy was convicted, um, and found guilty. The killer. Um, the young gentleman there. It's a very sad thing, but the important thing what they say is that she was a miracle baby. Eliana dreamed of a law career. Her aunt says. I was thinking that maybe some recommendation need to go to the bar or the law society for them to create a sort of scholarship in her honor or so. But if I just play this bit here, let me see if it can play. Let me see something here.
She wanted to become a lawyer, human rights lawyer.
And that must have made you and the family so proud, knowing that she had
Very
that kind of
proud.
aspiration.
Very,
You can
very,
hear
very
Gary, yeah?
proud. It's something that we
If
all,
you can turn it up
Yeah.
a bit.
it's something that the family was very happy for. To see a young girl growing with a lot of desires and inspiration to become somebody in future. You know, I like people to remember Eliane as a most beautiful girl, a girl that lived a life to fight for people, to love people, you know, to just be there for friends and family. I want people to always know that the Eliane that we lost was very precious to our family, my sister especially. So when people see her face, they should remember that a very beautiful girl has been lost.
The interesting thing about what they're saying, that you wanted to be a lawyer. I was listening to, when after a case is concluded and they're able to show things, they showed when she actually went to support and to help her friend who was the ex-girlfriend, well, who is the ex-girlfriend of the guy. And she actually, they said they threw water on the boy, and she grabbed a bag and she was running away. She was like defending or sort of helping her friend or so. And then the guy got really angry and he got really mad. Apparently, he came with a knife. So therefore, what they talk about was premeditation. He came with a knife in order to effect some harm because he was a bit feeling as I said, disrespected by the girls or so. And that is what one of the issues there. But it's really sad, I must say. It's really sad um, that it turned out to that, really. But I guess one of the warning is that, and of course, um, you just don't know the temperament, and you just don't know the mindset of individuals these days. Even if you're driving, right, and someone bad drive you or so, I don't have the mindset anymore of getting angry. I just and just wave them on or so like that, because you just do not know the temperament of someone at a particular moment in time. You just do not know. You don't know. We don't know their mindset. You don't know what they have. You know, and so on. Then you can just simply be a statistics. And I believe maybe one of the warning to young ladies or so, young girls or so, is just to be what should I say? Just be mindful. I think it's just be mindful. It is not. It's no. It is. It is no reason for him to have done what he did, but just be mindful at the same time of the characters that you're out there dealing with. Yeah, that's the thing. And they said the chap was in foster care in Croydon. Yeah, I think he was in foster care at some point. But the council, Croydon, said they're not going to be in a serious case review in regards to this. Uh, so that's the situation.
Yeah. There is a spirit that has gone out into this world.
Mm,
So, and it really doesn't matter what the authorities try to do. You can't harness something that you cannot see.
yes.
You can't harness something, and they cannot understand. They cannot understand a problem if they don't know where the problem is coming from. It's not the individual as such.
Mm,
It's not so much the individual. Yes, as far as we are concerned, and as far as human beings are, yes. If I did something like that, then Graham needs to be incarcerated. Graham needs to have this. Graham needs to have that.
yes.
That's the only level. That's the only level that the authorities can deal with or can identify with. They
Yes.
can't speak and try and address a spirit. They can't do that. And that is why men, authorities are losing control. They've lost control. Now,
Mm,
a lot of these agencies, governmental agencies and NGOs, non-governmental organizations,
bodies. Yes.
they will do all that they can. They will do all that they can. The governments will throw money at a problem. But throwing money, throwing resources at a problem will
Don't.
not solve the problem. It just
Mm,
won't. You know,
mm,
if you throw money at, I know, I don't know if they still do it, but in times past, governments or councils, they would send bad boys on holiday, thinking, well, sending them on a holiday will change them, will change their mindset, will cause them to feel good about themselves. So what do? They send them all over the place and send them
Yes.
on trips, send them on adventure trips. They just, I mean, at that point in time in history, well, that's a history, it's not too long ago, probably 10, 20, 15 years ago, they'd throw some silly money at people to see if that would help to rehabilitate the individuals. But
Yes.
it won't help the situation. It
Mm.
won't help. And I think the battle, the war has been lost.
Mm.
The war is lost.
Yes.
Sorry. The
Yeah.
war is lost because it doesn't matter what governmental agencies, non-governmental agencies, or even what council. It's not going. I mean, it doesn't matter how much money you throw at people. It's
Mm.
like, for instance, for example, like people who are on benefits, living in council properties. What did they do under Thatcher's reign? It could have been done also after Thatcher's government, after she was prime minister. But what did they do with in relation to council properties? If you remember, at one point, council properties were high rises. They were
Yeah.
dilapidated at times. They looked really drab and dreary and gloomy. So what was the bright idea that the government had at that time to do? Either bring them down, demolish the high rises, build
Mm.
some nice 3-bedroom, 3-bedroom properties,
Yeah.
put these individuals, it's still council places, still council, but
Yeah.
put them in these places, putting them in new homes and new accommodations, build new schools and all of these things. With and the idea was, because these individuals, because families are being rehabilitated in the sense of new area, new homes, new schools, new layouts, that it will change their mindsets and then they will do better. Has it? The
Well,
question is, has it really changed
the
the mindset?
mindset. Yeah. I don't know. Don't know. I don't know with the evidence regarding that, Gary. But in just quickly moving on, just seeing the time. There is that. You remember Mark Carney? Do you remember Mark Carney was the governor of the Bank of England?
Yes.
Yes, he's running to be the to try to be run to be the prime minister of Canada,
Is
and
it?
then and then after that to become the 52nd state of America. Trump is after months of speculation about his political ambition, the former Bank of Canada and Bank of England governor Mark Carney has announced um, he's seeking the leadership of Canada's governing Liberal Party. I guess he wants to take over from um, Justin Trudeau. Justin Trudeau there, so that is a very interesting thing. So for him to do. So that is what is happening in Canada there with leaving off Justin Trudeau. Moving on. The other thing also I just want to pick up though is you remember there was that vote regarding the national inquiry regarding gangs, grooming gangs, and it was voted out. But now three prominent Labour persons have now said that they wanted to go ahead, and I believe the Home Secretary announced that there's going to be some more inquiries in some local level. They're still trying to avoid the term national because the mayor of where is he from again? Andy Burnham. Where's Andy Burnham is mayor for? But anyway, Andy Burnham, senior Labour guy. Where is he? Where is he again? Where is Andy Burnham from?
He's the mayor of Manchester.
Manchester, yes, he voted for it. Now he wants it, and a few other persons want it as well. So that may be happening in regards to that. But Kemi has been at the throat of the Prime Minister. Depending on who you listen to, they'll say the Prime Minister was at the throat of Kemi. If you listen to another person, Kemi was at the throat of the Prime Minister or so, getting him to answer questions as well. One of the things that Kemi said, and in a very brief, they had a spring conference, and she was talking about what is the role of conservative and what the plan is, and this is what she said in a brief sense.
And it didn't work. No more. To rebuild trust, we have to show how conservatism improves the lives of British people. We will rediscover the idea that everyone contributes towards society, not just calculates what they can take out of it. We will again be the party of meritocracy. We believe that if you do right by your community, your family, your society, you will succeed. And if you don't, you likely won't. Our society is treating those people who do best badly, and the people that do worst well. Everything is upside down. That's the opposite of fairness. Fairness is the idea that the ledger of life reflects effort, agency, and contribution.
What do you say about that? Is that the answer to the world dream? Is that the world dream? Fairness?
Well, I mean, she has to present something different than what's going on right now.
Yeah.
So whatever she says, to some extent, as far and as well and as eloquent as she's putting it forward and putting it out, I believe that it's anything different than what's happening right now. I think it's going to sound good.
Yes. Let's take in Prime Minister's question time. Just that small bit there with Kemi. With Kemi yesterday.
And it didn't
if
work.
I can.
No more. To rebuild trust, we have.
Let's see. Can we see that there? Let's see if we can hear it this week. Last week we had some issues with hearing it.
Mr. Speaker, skilling up the next generation is, of course, vital to kick-starting economic growth. And our plan for change will rebuild Britain by delivering 1.5 million new homes. That's why we've established Skills England, reforming our planning system and training the workforce. And I will ensure that she gets the meeting that she wants with the relevant minister.
Becomes the leader of the opposition, Kemi Baidenoch.
Mr. Speaker, on Friday, while borrowing costs hit levels not seen since Labour was last in government, I met business owners and their employees in Chesterfield. One of them told me that his business will not exist in 4 years' time because of this government's policies. It might not even exist next year. The Prime Minister may try to blame his inheritance or blame global factors, but why should anyone trust a word he says over the businesses who are saying again and again that his budget means fewer jobs, lower growth, and higher borrowing costs?
Mr. Speaker, as she knows, the global economy is experiencing volatility and higher borrowing costs. That is why it was vital that we took the tough and right decisions in the budget to get our finances back in order. We had to deal with the £22 billion black hole that they left. We made difficult cuts, raised taxes to invest in health, public services and housing, vital to stability, vital to growth. And we've got an ironclad commitment to our fiscal rules. And she will welcome, no doubt, the inflation figures from this morning. But contrast that with the party opposite. They weren't brave enough in government to take those difficult decisions. They've opposed all of our measures to stabilise the economy and promote growth. They're back to the magic money tree. She wants all the benefits of the budget, but she can't say how she's going to pay for them. They haven't changed. They're still economic vandals and fantasists. Imagine where we'd be if they were still in charge.
I just want to stop right there, Gary, and just to say something. Do you know that every week, I believe whosoever is a script writer ensure that punctuated within the speeches 28 billion black hole and 14 years of failure. Do you notice that? It's always this 28 billion black hole and 14 years of failure for the Conservative Party. I wonder to what extent and to when will the Labour Party stop using that? Because I know Kemi is going to come back and say the OBR said this 22 billion didn't exist. There's also a point that Kemi flagged up, I believe, maybe, I don't know if it was in this question time or what, but you said most of the top leaders there in the Labour Party, they have never run any business. None of them have ever run any business. They're all career politicians. None of them, from Angela Rayner, Starmer, Reeves, they said use a wrong CV, Lammy, all of them, not one of them run any business. So they don't understand exactly what is happening. But anyhow, you want to say something, Gary, or just continue, yeah?
No, continue.
Yeah, okay, so let me just continue. Kemi's going to speak now.
Mr. Speaker, just today, the British Retail Consortium says 2/3 of businesses will have to raise prices to cope with his tax hike. His Chancellor ignored all the warnings and ploughed ahead with an unprecedented borrowing spree, leaving all of us more vulnerable. Now we have businesses saying they will raise prices to cover his jobs tax. We have an energy policy that will drive up bills, and all the while we are spending more day to day on debt interest than we do on schools and universities. The Prime Minister refused to repeat his Chancellor's promise that she wouldn't come back for more. Will he now rule out any new tax rises this year?
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, we took the right and difficult decisions at the budget. Decisions that they did not have the courage to take, which left us in the mess in the first place. When it comes to tax, she knows very well the limits of what I can say from this dispatch box, but we have an ironclad commitment to our fiscal rules. We can't just tax our way out of the problems that they left us, which is why we put in place tough. They were howling at the spending decisions. They wouldn't take them. And we'll stick to those spending decisions. And our focus is absolutely on growth. But their record, they flatlined the economy. Their record, they flatlined the economy. Mini budget that crashed the economy. Worst cost of living crisis in living history. And they left a £22 billion black hole. Not taking lessons from them on the economy.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister knows very well the OBR found no such black hole. And he talks about a budget 3 years ago. The borrowing costs last week are at a 27-year high for 30-year gilts. The Chancellor is apparently promising to be ruthless in reducing spending. Let me suggest something that he should cut. There is no way that we should be giving up British territory in Chagos. He is rushing a deal which will be disastrous and which will land taxpayers with a multi-billion-pound bill. Why does the Prime Minister think British people should pay to surrender something that is already ours?
Mr. Speaker, we inherited a situation where the long-term operation of a vital military base was under threat because of legal challenges. The negotiations were started under the last government. The then Foreign Secretary came to this House to say why he was starting negotiations and what he wanted to achieve. And he said the aim was to, quote, ensure the continued effective operation of the base. That is precisely what this deal has delivered.
Mr. Speaker, there is no one he can blame for this dud deal except himself. At the budget, Labour were congratulating themselves for having the first female Chancellor. instead of ensuring the country had someone actually qualified to do the job.
That was a hit below the belt, wasn't it? That was a serious hit below the belt. And to Rain and Miss Reeves, the Chancellor, that Kemi did, and also the point which he flagged up that the OBR said that there was no $1 billion black hole. They mentioned about tax rise, but I just heard that the mayor is planning to raise council tax in London by 19 pounds or something like that. So therefore, there's going to be tax rise. And when I see that guy, the mayor, I just say, oh, geez. But to be honest with you, I believe honestly that could be wrong, but every mayor and every year council tax goes up, Garry.
Oh yeah.
Huh?
It does.
It does. So it wasn't just something to do with Labour or Sadiq Khan, because Sadiq Khan, I believe, do not unilaterally make these decisions. There must be something in concert with the government, and that is why when he was he's still the mayor, but when the Conservative was in and he was operating, he still was like operating, seemed to be unilaterally, but at the same time it was in concert with the government. That's what he was doing. But anyway, let's hear what the last bit of what Kemi has to say at this Prime Minister's question time, which I believe, Garry, after 21 days, I'm going to see how many Kemi has done so far. After 21 times at the dispatch box, she'll get it. I said, after 21 days of doing something continuously, you master it. And here she is again.
The Prime Minister.
I want to hear. Sorry. I want to hear the Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister claims he has full confidence in the Chancellor, but the markets clearly do not. Yesterday, the Chancellor repeated her promise to have just one budget per year to provide businesses with certainty. The talk in the city is that she can't meet her fiscal rules and there will need to be an emergency budget. So does the Prime Minister stand by the Chancellor's commitment that there will be only one budget this year?
Prime Minister.
To be pleased to know the Chancellor will be in place for many, many years to come. She'll outstrip them. Mr. Speaker, if we all thought the politics was about cheap points, I could criticise their chancellors, but I don't have enough time to go through all of the chancellors that they had. We have one budget, that's what we're committed to, strong fiscal rules, and we'll stick to them, unlike the party opposite.
Mr. Speaker, at a time of turmoil in the markets, the Prime Minister was distracted by the crisis around the former City Minister. What does it tell us about his judgment that yesterday he said he was saddened that his close friend resigned? This was an anti-corruption minister under criminal investigation for corruption. Mohammed Yunus, the Nobel Prize winner advising Bangladesh, said London properties gifted to the former city minister may be proceeds of robbery. So, will the Prime Minister offer Bangladesh the full support of our National Crime Agency in ensuring that any properties bought with stolen funds are properly investigated?
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the former city minister referred herself, the independent.
What did he say? Mr. Speaker, the former city minister. This is the lady there whose aunt was the former prime minister of Bangladesh, our president of Bangladesh. That was the lady, one of the people in government, and she resigned. Tulip Siddiqui, I believe, what was her name. She's next door to the prime minister constituency. And she kept saying that she referred herself to the, to be reviewed. I forget what a team is, but she stepped down yesterday. She resigned, and I'm going to refer something about Jamaica in the next few moments regarding how these persons resign after, because what we're seeing was the Prime Minister was saying she was appropriate by actually referring herself to be investigated, and she was appropriate. And then within a few days, and I'm sure that the bookies were at it and say, how many days she's going to last as a person who is going to resign or stay there. So that's it. Tulip Sutku, she actually resigned yesterday. So let's hear what the Prime Minister has to say.
Advisor. He found, as she well knows, there was no breach of the code. He knows that he found there was no wrongdoing, and the former minister fully cooperated. She referred herself a week ago Monday. I got the report yesterday, and she resigned yesterday afternoon. Compare that with the shadow foreign secretary who breached the ministerial code. Her predecessor, Batu, ignored it. It was the advisor that then had to resign because he wasn't taken seriously. And she's now serving the leader of the opposition. What a contrast. Thank God the British public shut them out.
Oh, again.
Mr. Speaker, he did not answer the question about the National Crime Agency. No answer to investigating dodgy Labour ministers, just as last week he didn't want an inquiry that might expose dodgy Labour councils. The Prime Minister knowingly appointed a convicted fraudster as his transport secretary. The anti-corruption minister he had full confidence in only days ago resigned yesterday in disgrace. He is negotiating a secret deal to surrender British territory, and taxpayers in this country will pay for the humiliation. Now it turns out his government may write a check to compensate Gerry Adams. This is shameful. We left him the fastest growing economy in the G7. In just 6 months, under his leadership, it's been taxes up, borrowing up, mortgage rates up, and that's not all. Business confidence is down. Jobs are down, growth is down. Can the country afford 4 more years of his terrible judgments?
Yes. Mr. Speaker, among that barrage of complete nonsense, there is one point that I need to address, because it's the Legacy Act, and it will be of real interest across the House. That act was unfit because, well, not least because it gave immunity to hundreds of terrorists and wasn't supported by victims in Northern Ireland, nor, I believe, by any of the political parties in Northern Ireland. The court found it unlawful. We will put in place this is a serious point. We will put in place a better framework. We're working on a draft remedial order and replacement legislation, and we will look at every conceivable way to prevent these types of cases claiming damages. And it's important I say that on the record. But as for her claim and her nonsense, they crashed the economy. Mr. Speaker, I got a...
He's feisty, he has this very condescending way by saying she's talking rubbish, she's talking nonsense, she's playing on her social media. He has these little sly, I don't know what it is, but it's like he's trying to get at her in certain ways, and I think it is very condescending. I don't know if it's bordering on anything, but I'm watching him at the same time, the way how he sort of fan her off. I don't know if you see that, Garry, and I don't know if anybody else have seen that. Maybe just me seeing that,
Well, I mean, he doesn't answer the questions.
He doesn't answer questions.
Labour is not a government or a party of business, and as she rightly said, in 6 months he's done worse than any other probably than any other government. His decision making is not good, and I think it can be seen with how the country is responding. And I wouldn't be surprised that within the next year or two that the country will not be asking for a general election. Before you move on, is that You mentioned Burnham. Is it what's his name?
Andy Burnham. Yes.
Burnham.
I think
he should be he should run for. I think he should run for leader of the Labour Party, because I think that I think he would do much better. He would do much better than what Starmer has done, and probably what the other Labour leaders have done in recent years.
I do, and I wouldn't be surprised that knocking on that same door will be Sadiq Khan as well. But I believe Andy Burnham is a person. But have you heard, of course, that Reform is just behind Labour? 1%.
Yeah, 1%.
And Conservative further back. And now they were speaking to the former Home Secretary. What's her name again? Her name slipped me. The Asian lady, the former Home Secretary. And not Patel, the other lady there. Suella Braverman. They're speaking to Suella Braverman and said, should there be a deal with Reform? And she's saying, we just need to keep out Labour. We just need to keep out Labour. So she would not dismiss a deal with Reform. And I believe that is something that maybe the Conservative may need to really think about. And the deal could be a situation similar when they had the last election, or when they even had Brexit or so, whereby, I think it was the last election where Nigel Farage stood down certain areas, and they work out that sort of deal, like, they stood down certain areas in order for the Conservative to be successful in. Because when you look at the figures from the last election, it was Reform who made it difficult for the Conservative Party. It was Reform. And so I believe as well that the Labour Party in the UK is not going to last long, and there's going to be pressure. There's 3 million people who voted for who signed the petition for another election, and they had the debate in a committee room. It wasn't in the main hall, and those things never go anywhere really. But that doesn't mean to say the fire is not going to go on. And with Reform is talking, and I believe it was Reform that actually pushed for these other leaders in the Labour Party to sort of want to have an inquiry, because Reform was pushing for a national inquiry. And I think the person that they would be tickling his pocket would be Elon Musk, because Elon Musk is the one who was saying that they need to be a reform. And even though Elon Musk has been having issues with Nigel Farage, but by saying a national inquiry and wanting an inquiry, I believe Elon Musk may actually fork out some money and assist Reform in getting this national inquiry. And that is why they're talking about how to do with these fundings from international sources, because what they do not want is an open door where people from overseas can infiltrate and pour money into the system, and like what Reform is doing here.
Well, they're only saying that, but they're only saying that because they don't want. Well, let me take it another way.
Yeah.
They are getting funds from overseas. So if they clamp down on that, the Labour Party or any other party is going to hurt themselves.
Yes.
So, but the Reform Party is just a Labour Party in drag, if I can say that, to make a difference.
Yes.
It's not the Labour, it's a Conservative Party, because Nigel Farage. The only thing with Nigel Farage and he's extreme right. He's really extreme. Now the Conservative Party to some extent is extreme. Is really extreme in the sense that they
in some respect. In some respect, when you say extreme, David Cameron was middle.
Yes.
Center.
Yeah. But a lot of what Reform is advocating and supporting is conservative views.
Yes. And that is why a lot of the persons who have gone over to Reform, they are disgruntled conservative Tory persons. Even the former treasurer has gone over there. But let's listen what the final bit of Kemi.
A letter this week from a Tory voter in a Labour seat. I hope they don't mind me saying who it was. It was Liz Truss. It wasn't written in green ink, but it might as well have been. She was complaining that saying she'd crashed the economy was damaging her reputation. It was actually crashing the economy that damaged her reputation. Mr. Speaker, what have we heard? All they've got is complaining. No defence for their sorry record. They don't even acknowledge it. No ideas, no policy. They're like a blank piece of paper, blowing hopelessly in the wind. No wonder the country put them in the bin.
Jim Dixon.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Patients in Kent are experiencing a winter crisis resulting from years.
Okay, so he got the last word there. he got the last word there. In regards to that, well, that was the review of Kemi Badenoch and Sir Keir Starmer. How do you think Kemi performed and is performing, Garry, or ladies and gentlemen, anybody out there? What do you views on Kemi and her performance?
I think she's doing okay. She's doing well so far. You just have to just see what the outcomes are, really.
Yes, I totally agree. As I said, after 21 days, 21 time at the dispatch box, I'm gonna do my count. She perfect it, and as time goes by, because in an interview recently, she was talking to a person being interviewed, and she said, in a way, you can't get it right because the 6 questions that she have to ask. Some people say, why don't you keep at it to get him to answer? And then she'll get somebody else say, why don't you split the questions into 6 different policy issues? You know what I'm trying to say? So in a way, you can't get it right in a certain way. But that was the review today for Kemi Badenoch and Prime Minister's Question Time. When I take a quick break, and then we'll come back and talk about finally in Jamaica. Garry, there was a very interesting thing happening in Jamaica, and let me just put up the picture here. There's a government minister. He's the minister of. Let me get the right one. He's the Minister of Justice. His name is Delroy Chuck. That's his name there. Chuck questions whether the PM is being targeted by the Integrity Commission. Yep. And there's a second question that he put out there. Chuck says he has advised MPs to refuse divulging spouses, children, salaries to Integrity Commission, because the Integrity Commission, as you know, when they're doing their investigation for statutory declaration, they want to know at the same time the family network in the event if money is siphoned off. So I find these 2 statements by the minister very concerning, and I consider those statements as to be, what should I say, sackable offenses by the minister, because what you're saying is that the Justice Minister Delroy Chuck says he has advised members of Parliament, MPs, not to divulge the salaries of their spouses or children to the Integrity Commission during the course of its investigation. He also wants limits to be placed on the Integrity Commission in terms of what it can and cannot investigate. Can you believe that, Garry?
Well,
Garry, can you believe that?
Anything can happen.
Anything can happen. What do you mean anything can happen?
Does Delroy Chuck, does he have any reason to say what he has said? Is he legal in saying what he did or in saying what he said?
When you say if he's legal, what do you mean if he's legal? Do you mean has he got the local standard? Have you got any basis, any reasons for saying those things?
Yeah.
I don't know. Can you ask him? Call him.
Well, you're the one you got get the quote and the quotes from him and has highlighted it. I mean, you see.
No, yeah.
I mean,
Go on.
if the Prime Minister has set up an inquiry, the Prime Minister of a country has set up an inquiry to investigate.
You mean this body? Have this body?
Well,
you mean
this? Any country, well, let's say if the Prime Minister set up a body like what Holness has done in Jamaica.
Yeah.
If that happened here in the UK, or if it happened in the United States, right? And one of his ministers, one of the Secretary of State, gets up and then says what Chuck has said to advise his colleagues not to answer questions, not to answer particular questions as they are going about to to investigate whatever they've been asked to. Is he legally right to do that? Because during the progress of the inquiry of the commission is because if I did that, if you are the judge and I was then told that I must not answer a particular question, then wouldn't I be looked on as withholding information or there's a legal term?
Or be a part of blocking sensitive information. You'll be an obstacle in the way. Sorry, go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
There's a term for that. What's that term? I can't remember the term. There's a term that came to me.
Being frivolous, being obstructive.
Perjury, isn't it that perjury?
No. Perjury is lying. He's not lying. What he's saying is he's saying do not answer, do not disclose certain information. Perjury is actually lying. That is saying that you know something and you're lying on the oath. That's where perjury comes in. I'm sorry?
Wouldn't I be obstructing?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Obstructive is another thing. Obstructive is, in a way, his comments can be deemed to be obstructive. His comments can be deemed advising the members of parliament not to what should I say, cooperate with the Integrity Commission in while they're exercising their duties, exercising what they're legally obliged to do, then he can be deemed to be obstructive. And the fact that it's a legal matter, and the fact that he is the Justice Minister, that means to say his position is untenable. He needs to step aside. I did a video and I said, Chuck need to chuck aside. Chuck need to be chucked aside. Justice Minister Delroy Chuck said he has advised members of parliament not to divulge the salaries of their spouses. So therefore, if I'm a minister of government and I'm being investigated for some 20 million or so missing funds or unaccounted for funds or something like that to deal with my statutory declaration, and of course I've got my family and my wife and so with joint bank accounts or so, it is appropriate, if I have nothing to hide, for my spouse or my children to be able to disclose certain information, Garry, in order for the Integrity Commission to actually exercise their duties, so they can come up to a situation and say, we have explored the wife account, we have explored the children account, and we have seen that there's nothing really concerning. So when he's saying, why is the Integrity Commission asking members to indicate the salaries of their spouses or sometimes of their children? I don't know if this is something that is appropriate, because I have advised, the relevant members, let them know your spouse is not prepared to divulge your salary. He said, adding that by doing so, the MPs are not able to share this information. These are things when we go back to, we have to make it very clear what limits can be put in the term. There can be no limits, Garry, when it comes on to investigation of these nature. Because any, are you there, Garry? Where am I? Yeah. My view is this, any government minister, prime minister, cabinet member should recognize that, and what Mr. Chuck was saying, why is the prime minister seem to be targeted? The prime minister is not being targeted. The prime minister should be targeted because guess what? To whom so much is given, so much is required. Any cabinet members also, to whom so much is given, so much is required. So therefore, they must be investigated if their statutory declaration is not clear.
Has Chuck, has he got anything to hide?
I don't know. As a matter of fact, I don't know what about the statutory declaration as yet, if it's been done, you know. I don't know. It's like a bangarang thing. They say it's more like a patty shop, but a friend of mine said, Sylbourne, you were in Jamaica recently. Patty shop is nice and more organized. Patty shop is more organized than these things. You know?
I mean, I think still that, I don't know. I believe that
God is coming soon.
Yeah, God is but also seriously though, when the wholeness put the commission together and
yes.
and gave it life in order to operate, what did the commission then find out and do? They found that something was wrong in the Prime Minister's office. So the commission then started to investigate the Prime Minister's office.
Yes.
Right? The very person that gave them life to do what they were to do then found that something wasn't quite right. And it
or the term which they call it a creature of parliament. It is deemed as a creature of parliament, which is created by government because it was initiated or so and crafted in a sense by the opposition leader and then came into full fruition through the JLP. So it's a coordinated thing which is agreed. That is why you got these 7 code of conduct, which they need to sign up to, which is transparency, leadership, selflessness, and all these different bits, accountability, transparency, all these things which the government side has not signed up to. I was interviewing someone the other day, and they said, well, they already signed up to it when they did their oath, when they did their oath in Parliament. So it is very concerning, and that is the big thing which is happening down there in Jamaica now, and that is why people sometimes feel like it doesn't make sense that we go and vote because nothing is gonna come of it. That is one of the concerns.
Yeah, I mean, we've been saying that from last year or even from the year before. So, I mean, look at the areas in which you have addressed. You've worked hard for in regards to the the political the voting structure. Yeah. Then you even address the Constitution by way of turning into a republic.
Yes.
I mean, the whole thing is a shambles. The whole thing, people don't know. They try to include the diaspora of the United States, of the UK, Europe, and other areas where Jamaicans are. They're saying they want to involve those on the outside with what is happening in Jamaica itself. But do they?
Yeah.
I don't think so. They don't want that. Because obviously, those on the outside, I'm not saying that those on the outside are have the perfect solution to what needs to be happening in Jamaica.
Yes.
But what is quite clear is that whatever is happening in Jamaica amongst the elite, they don't want that troubled. Why? Because they're involved. And anything that helps to stem the flow of whatever is going on in Jamaica will inevitably affect them. So they send overtures, so to speak, to those outside of Jamaica, saying, "We want your input. We want this. We want that. We welcome your thoughts. We welcome your input." But in fact, when they do get the impact or the suggestions of those on the outside in, they don't listen. They turn it down. So inevitably, when it comes to now the commission, is it called Integrity Commission?
Integrity Commission, yes.
When the Integrity Commission was given life to investigate whatever it was deemed to be set up to do, when it then found that there was a problem in the Prime Minister's office, and more or less with the Prime Minister himself.
Well, let's clarify something. It is not the Prime Minister's office. It is the person, Andrew Holness.
Well, that's him. It's him. He's the one that's in the office.
No, I'm just saying the office. Let's sort of separate the sort of office to a bit, because
no, you can't. Not at this point. Not at this point, sir. I mean, whoever goes into the office, then obviously that's different. But you can't. To me, you can't. At this moment in time, you can't separate the office from the individual, because the individual is in the office.
Yes.
And the only way you're going to address or keep the office clean is if the office holder resigned or stepped out of the office,
or the cleaner is able to come in and clean up the office.
And obviously that is not able. Obviously the cleaner can't go in. Because the cleaner, the one with the mop and the bucket, right? The office holder wants to send the cleaner to.
Yes. You're right. You're right about that. The cleaner can't go in and move up everything, because in these buildings in the buildings in the UK, the cleaners coming at night and nobody's around, and they can do everything that they want to do, unless they lock up the things, But let's go back to the point. Which was flagged up in regards to what Mr. Chuck finds offensive. This is what he said. It's up there. It's up there. The legislation which is under review speaks to the issue Chuck finds offensive. Section 41 of subsection 1 of the Integrity Commission Act states, a statutory declaration shall include such particulars as are known to the declarant of the income, assets, and liabilities of the spouse and children were applicable of the declarant. Garry, it is there. It was there. It's in the act. So he said he finds it offensive. So what he's actually doing is advising and encouraging the MPs to break the law. The Justice Minister said he was well aware that the IC, during the course of an investigation, asked for information from banks, companies, the Registrar of Titles, among other entities. I know that because they brought up companies that my name was on, which were formed 30 years ago. So I think he's got some personal issues which is happening there, why he's going on like that. And he said, I totally forget about that, but they found it in the register of companies. And he said, Bucks, I didn't find a company that made me want to hide that long time, But guess what? Maybe there's nothing about it. He said, adding that the companies which are closed never operated. And this is what he said. We need to find out just how far the Integrity Commission goes in terms of investigating, he said. So what he's seeking to do is trying to block it. Because guess what? The Integrity Commission is going a bit too deep. Finding certain things.
Stick a pin right there. And if the ordinary man in the street, if the ordinary man was to do what he is doing, they will be jailed. They will be in big trouble.
Yes.
They would be in big trouble. So obviously, what he is doing is illegal. It's illegal, and everyone should be taken to task. He should be chucked out. what Holness is doing, what Holness has done, he should resign because obviously he's breaking the law, and so and it seems that other MPs, well, we know that they've broken the law because if Delroy Chuck is advising MPs, and obviously he knows the MPs that he needs to advise because obviously there's been some illegal
we can say there's alleged. It can be alleged that there, if anything, there's maybe something illegal going on or something like that. Use the word allege. Yeah.
Well, use the word alleged. You have to use the word alleged.
You have to use the word alleged. Yeah. You know. But it doesn't look good.
As the man on the streets of Kingston, and probably one very famous place in Jamaica called Oterias, a thief the money.
What is it? Them thief. You know. There's a Chuck again took issue with the fact that nearly 2 years on, the IC is yet to indicate which 6 parliamentarians were under the pro. I don't understand this. This is yet to indicate which 6 parliamentarians were under the probe for illicit enrichment. That number rose to 8 when 2 more mentioned last year in the IC's annual report. When at the same time they are saying they shouldn't say it. Remember they said they shouldn't say it? And the IC has confirmed only 1 illicit enrichment probe to date in relation to the Prime Minister, Dr. Andrew Holness. The matter is now before the court after Holness, you know. These guys are actually the more it opens them out, the more whatever is dropping out, you know.
If people would only just be honest and just, if they would just step aside. You see, power corrupts. Absolutely.
Absolute power corrupts, absolutely.
Corrupts, absolutely. And that is being acted out right there. Right.
You know, I was thinking this in a Garry, that maybe one of the reasons why the people of Jamaica is not saying anything is because they can't bother. But maybe they're just waiting for an election. Just call election. We'll just vote out.
But
maybe that's what they're waiting for.
But Sylbourne, again, go back to the findings that you found out 2 years ago, if it was that long.
Yes.
The percentage of those who voted is not even half.
Yes, it was 40 was the maximum. Yes, you're right about that at the same time.
Therefore, keeping that in mind, do you really believe that the same amount of people are going to vote the next time around? It could be less, because what we have to understand is that there are more and more individuals that are being disenfranchised and being very disappointed with what is happening politically in Jamaica. So less may even come out the next time an election is called.
So maybe what should happen then is the diaspora get registered to vote, and they make a big difference.
And the thing about it, they don't want that.
They don't want that.
They want that.
They don't want that.
It will be very interesting. Now, I'm not even saying that the Labour or the PNP, but I believe it will be a close call. And
yes.
And even, what's the third party called? The CV. What's the third
UIC. United Independent Congress. UIC. Right.
UIC. It would be interesting that even the UIC may even come up and either be second or first. Because the diaspora, they see, even though where the diaspora may be living, United States, Europe, UK, in the Far East, wherever, we don't know where the majority is or are. But what I'm saying is that they know that the present political parties of Jamaica may not be the ones that they do not want to be in government, and they may even make a surprise. It will be very interesting. A surprise vote on who they really want to go in to govern Jamaica. So it would be interesting if they would even allow that, in as much as they shout loudly that they want the diaspora to be involved. They want to hear from us. They want us to be involved in the political process. But do they? Do they really want to hear from you? Do they
Yes.
really want you, Sylbourne, involved in the political process of Jamaica? I doubt it.
No, they don't want it, and they're not happy with my voice at the same time from the government level, because of the fact that I'm pushing for accountability, transparency, and in regards to good governance, talking about the whole thing with constitution reform, talking about anti-bribery, and all these different things where you just don't understand. Hang on a second, this is good, you know. But anyway, we let that rest, and we'll see. I just saw something a while ago, Gary. And do Andy Burnham does this. The mayor of London says, I know Londoners who have watched the unimaginable suffering and horror of this conflict will join me in welcoming a ceasefire deal and the release of the hostage who have been held captive for 466 days. You know, do Andy Burnham does those things? I don't know. Sadiq can tend to go over into different areas which is not of his remit.
You see, you see, Sadiq Khan, he has in the London area, he's politicking. He's politicking.
Yes.
He's politicking because he has to keep the Palestinians or the Arabs on his side in London. If they go against him, he's out. Yes.
So that's what he's trying to keep, and that is what I believe also Labour Party is doing on the Sadiq Khan in regards to not wanting to have a national inquiry further into the grooming gang, because it's gonna rock the boat of the Pakistanis, you know, because that is where it emanated from. But at the same time, statistics have shown that most of the pedophiles and most of these guys are white. At the same time, that does its thing. So it needs to be structured in a sort of in a balanced way. But hey, that's it for tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Went fun for an hour and a half, but I believe it was very important as to what is happening around the world, and it's good to finish off on Jamaica, which is very important. And this whole thing with Delaware Chuck, I just believe, Gary, that persons like that need to resign. I just believe, just like in the UK, just like Tulsi, what's her name, resigned from the government recently because her mother was her aunt, former prime minister for Bangladesh, is involved with corruption and is being investigated, even though the aunt has left Bangladesh, but is being corrupted, and the 2 properties that they have in London or so is being investigated. So she had to resign. Now, in a case of Mr. Chuck, for argument's sake, if this was happening in the UK, whereby a minister of justice or like an attorney general advising members of parliament not to cooperate with an integrity commission who seeks to look at statutory declarations, that is a breach. And when there's a section 40.1 of the Integrity Commission Act, which states a statutory declaration shall include such particulars are known to the declarant of the income, assets, and liabilities of the spouse and children where applicable of the declarant. The Justice Minister finds it offensive. Who cares what he finds offensive? He's supposed to actually rubber stamp and support the law, Gary. Who cares if he finds it offensive? I'm sure judges sometimes rule on certain things and say, I don't like it, but I'm constrained by the law. I'm constrained by the act. And the best way to deal with that is to take it to court and try to get it removed, but not advising your colleagues to break the law. Sackable offense. You need to go. Can we sack him tomorrow, Gary?
Well, I think you see the strength of the leadership is tested. Strength of leadership is tested by way of the decisions in which action needs to be made. And obviously, in my estimation, I mean, I don't have anything against Holiness. I don't know him. He's not done anything wrong or harmful to me. He seems like a nice guy, but his leadership is questionable because he's allowing people who should be above the law. Well, when I say above the law, they're answerable, or they should be squeaky clean where the law is concerned.
Yes. Mm.
He's allowing individuals to bend the law so as to favor themselves, and I think that that is questionable as a leader in whichever profession, one may be.
So really and truly, how this should be addressed is the Prime Minister need to do what is right.
Yeah.
Have him sacked and have him be removed as well. But maybe the Prime Minister hands are also tied because he's also culpable. He's also complicit in the process. Alleged.
Well, put it this way: he needs to sack him and then sack himself.
Okay, he needs to sack it and allow the cleaners to come in and clean the place properly.
Yeah, because it's pointless. It's pointless. You could be in your office right there now, right?
Yeah.
And it's pointless locking up the place. You've employed cleaners to keep your office tidy. They empty the bin. They take out the food and the food messes that you've done in your office. But yet you lock them out.
And sit down the night, same way in the filth.
In the filth.
Oh my days. Jesus. That's Garry. You're sitting in the filth.
You sit down in it. Listen.
And guess what? And if there's a carpet there, a lot of things under the carpet. Damn.
But Sylbourne, it's a little bit more than that, because you sit where you sit.
Yes.
You get up and you turn the lights off.
Yes.
You've given keys. You've given a set of keys to the cleaners.
Yes.
And you said to them when you employ them, go into the office at a particular time. You have a particular amount of time to clean the office so that when I come back, the office is clean.
Yes.
But yet when you leave the office, the cleaners can't come in because you change the locks. And they can't.
You change the lock.
You change the lock.
And so guess what?
So when you come back to the office the Friday morning, right? You see the same food and rubbish on the table and on the floor or whatever. The rubbish bin is still full of rubbish, but they can't come in. And you sit down there as comfortable as ever, thinking and saying that the office is clean.
But guess what? You will not sack that cleaner. You keep that cleaner still.
No, but you can't sack the cleaner. Because
Yes.
You can't sack the cleaner because the cleaner hasn't done anything wrong. You've given the cleaner a task to clean the office, but the cleaner can't go in because you've changed the locks.
Wow.
And as much as the cleaner is protesting, as much as the cleaner is doing what you've asked the cleaner to do, right? You still will not allow the cleaner to come in to clean the office.
My days, that analogy is very powerful. I'll have to cut this bit and share it widely, man. This bit here, and send it directly. Because I always copy the Prime Minister and copy the opposition leader in these things, because I believe it is important, these level of information, this dialogue. I don't think it is something that needs to be hidden under a bushel. You need the light to be shined, because at the end of the day, they are actually servants of the people of Jamaica. They're actually servants of Jamaican. They're servants of the diaspora. So people should not be, because even something which has been happening in Jamaica, you're talking about, I think, some PNP person or so with some sort of issues with same building issues, and the JLP also with building issues also, alleged maybe building more than what they should do. And there's some issues of money whereby they say a guy from the PNP who was a caretaker for a particular place, they removed him, and it is alleged that they're supposed to pay him $15 million and also give him a seat in the Senate. So much things, and people are looking at this and say, what is going on? What is going on? So therefore, there need to be some realignment in the system. There need to be someone of some stature. And I don't believe the Governor General can do it, because I don't think he has any clout, really. He only comes out when they tell him to do things. So therefore, there's no one that can come out. So therefore, we have to speak as we see these things. People in the diaspora, myself, have to speak. And right now, as I'm saying this, Listen up, Jamaica. Listen up to the Prime Minister. Listen, Mr. Opposition. We are seeing this and we are speaking out from the diaspora that this thing doesn't look good. The cleaner needs to come in and clean up. That's it. Let's finish on that note there for them, Garry. Yeah? Let us be the voice of reasoning and for the people of Jamaica to hear it. I'm going to cut this bit of the video and I'm going to share it as a video by itself. You know. Anyway, have a good night. All right. Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you so much for joining today, joining the show. It was very informative. And the discussion, let me hear what you think. Let me hear your views as well. That would be very helpful. And those on TikTok, thank you so much for joining. Those on Instagram, thank you. Those on Facebook, thank you for joining. Those on YouTube, thank you for joining. And remember, you need to watch the show which I had last week, Sunday evening, with Mr. Tony Kelly, Diabetes Awareness. Yep, you need to watch that show where I had Mr. Tony Kelly talking about diabetes and our health is our wealth. It was done on January the 12th. And it's on Spotify, podcasts, YouTube, Facebook, and also on Apple. What should I say? Amazon as well. Tune in, learn about diabetes and also prostate. We touched on prostate a bit, talking about the fact that 1 in 4 men will have prostate cancer. White persons 1 in 8. For Black people 1 in 4 as well. Check out these different things. They need, Sandra Puller said they need to clean. Well, we have somebody here who said they need to clean. They need to clean house. That is right. They need to clean out, Sandra Puller. And everybody else who have heard this video and hear it to the end, just write in, they need to clean house. And they need cleaners to come in to clean it. We need the cleaner man to come in and to clean house as well for Jamaica, land we love. Ladies and gentlemen, have a good night and may God bless you and see you around next time.